Sure. We're good? Good evening. Wonderful to see so many of you here. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the Thunder Bay Art Gallery is located on the territory of the Anishinaabe people of Northwestern Ontario. We are grateful to work and live on the lands of Fort William First Nation, who are signatory to the Robertson Superior Treaty of 1850. Welcome everyone, my name is Matthew Hills. I'm the Executive Director of the Thunder Bay Art Gallery and an uninvited guest in this territory. I want to begin this evening by thanking the Center of the Deaf for sponsoring the exhibition Sam Ash, People of the Eyes. We are very grateful for the expertise and professional services of deaf interpreters, Jocelyn and Crystal Wolfe, who has traveled from Treaty 6 territory in Alberta. Thank you. Crystal is also the interpreter who has interpreted the exhibition text you will see in gallery. A special welcome to members of Thunder Bay's deaf community gathered this evening. And hello to all of those joining us by live stream, most especially Mishkeegogamang Ojibway Nation, Sam Ash's home community. We are fortunate to be surrounded by the works of Sam Ash, whose vibrancy and conceptualization of woodland art stopped me in my tracks. One of the signs of a great artist is how their work ages. And the work we see in this exhibition is fresh and dynamic. And to think it was created in 1985 is shocking to me. It is truly a testament to Sam Ash's transcendent talent and ability that this work seems as fresh and dynamic now as it did in 1985. Finally, before I introduce the curator of this exhibition, Penelope Smart, I want to acknowledge the generosity of Joanne McMacken. Whose gift of this work to our collection and the special relationship she had with Sam made this exhibition possible. The donation of this body of work enriches our holdings of woodland art, particularly for such a key artist in this school. Please join me in thanking Joanne. Thank you, Joanne. Without further ado, I welcome to the mic the curator of this exhibition, Penelope Smart.
Hello. My name is Penelope Smart. I'm curator at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I have a few things to share about Sam and his art, but first, there are a lot of people here who have helped make this exhibition what it is, and people who have helped bring us together in the gallery tonight. First, a thank you to our installation team, Patricia Roy and Damien Rivers-Moore. I also would like to acknowledge the members of the curatorial team, curatorial assistant Caitlin Bird, and collections manager Megan Ely. Thank you for contributing your voices and care to the exhibition. There are also many people here tonight outside of the gallery who helped bring this show to life. I would like to give a huge thank you to Karen Higginson and members of the local, regional, and national deaf community, including ASL interpreters and professionals who have helped me and the gallery better understand what it means to be accessible for deaf, deafened, and hard of hearing individuals, especially in the context of an art exhibition. So thank you, Karen. I know you're here. I know you're here, Karen. She's right there in the front row. For your help over the last few weeks. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the volunteers who are offering rides for our visiting interpreter, Crystal Wolfe, around Thunder Bay. It's so clear to me what a supportive and active community of people you all belong to. As I have learned through curating Sam Ash's art and through the process of making this exhibition, the language of ASL is beautiful, and it's been inspiring and humbling to learn about it, even just a little. So thank you again to interpreters Crystal Wolfe and Jocelyn de Boer, who are sharing tonight's event in the official language of the deaf community. Also behind the scenes, and hello if you're joining us remotely, ASL interpreters Seraphine, Charleston Acosta, and Debbie Parliament, two other people who helped along the way. And thank you to our other guest speakers who are coming up right after me, Kathleen Lynch and Greg Iben. Okay, so for my time with you here tonight, I wanted to do two things. First, share a little about Sam and his art, and second, share a very short version of the story of how these 29 paintings came to be on the walls in the gallery. Some of you in the room tonight knew Sam, who sadly passed away 2 years ago, but many of you might be coming to his work for the first time. Sam Ash was a Cree-Ojibwe artist born in 1951 in Sioux Lookout, Ontario. When he was about 2 years old, while in foster care, he became deaf due to illness. He spent childhood away from close friends and family in Belleville, Ontario, attending the Sir James Whitney School of the Deaf, where he made many friends as well. This was the beginning of his life, where he moved back and forth from northern and southern Ontario, and also the beginning of a life painting. As a self-taught artist, he painted all his life. The exhibition, People of the Eyes, is a term I learned about through the deaf community here as words of pride and identity. It was such a beautiful and striking phrase. One of the first things you notice about Sam's work are these big, expressive eyes. There is so much feeling, emotion, and empathy in his eyes. You can't help but look directly into them and feel something. These eyes that Sam Ash drew, they say so much. Oh, oops, okay. So I just have a few paintings to look at specifically here. The first one I want to share with you is called Birds on Your Tent, or, sorry, Scratch. is called Your Birds on My Tent from 1985. This is an interesting piece because the figures are eyeless or sightless, and it's curious to think about what this means for someone who relied on his eyes to communicate with others. Well, when I look at these figures, who are depicted without anatomical eyes or ears, their body language suggests such an ease of communication. They are so comfortable with one another. If you notice, there's a very short, small line coming out of the figure on the left. In woodland art, this is called a line of power. They can be straight or jagged lines that radiate from the bodies or heads of animals and people. Lines of power both transmit and receive information. Looking at this painting, what do you think the figures are talking about? Or are they talking at all? Is there any verbal language here? Maybe they're whistling. It's interesting to look at this painting from my position as someone in the hearing community, but others may see something else. Also, the title is really funny because Sam, he was a really funny guy. Going the wrong way. Okay, so the next image is called Pain and Die Slowly, ? Sam was interviewed by the local paper when he was 40 years old, and he said, through an interpreter, "I'm sure that my life does influence my art." Looking at this figure, his expression is fierce and haunting. Again, 3 jagged lines of power emerge from a fanged mouth. Lines of power can signify verbal sounds, but also, and maybe more importantly, they also transmit states of being and innate powers. Sam Ash's life was not easy. He endured many hardships in life, including foster care, addiction, dispossession, incarceration, and financial instability. Sam was an artist who painted what was real to him. Okay, so these are the final 2 paintings I wanted to take a closer look at. But it's also the time which I'm going to do the second thing I said I was going to do, share the story of how these paintings came to the gallery. So this is where former ASL interpreter Joanne McMacken from Thunder Bay, as Matthew mentioned, enters the picture. Actually, it's where Joanne and her 2 friends, Bernard Malinek and Marianne Kurlik, also enter the picture because they are very good friends with Joanne and supported her during this process. And they are also here tonight, so I want to say thank you, Bernard and Marianne. All right, the extra short version of the paintings in the gallery is simple. The paintings are here because Joanne donated them. She gave them to the gallery as a gift for us to take care of as part of our permanent collection. But how did she come to have them? I'm going to throw a word in Anishinaabe-Moan here into the mix. The word is ininija, which means she, he, or they holds or handles something in a certain way or points in a certain direction. If you look at these 2 works, they are different than anything else Sam painted, as far as we know. These 2 5-point hands are outstretched and feel more directly connected to sign language and his identity as a deaf artist than perhaps any others in the room. Not only that, they are unique in the history of woodland art. Okay, so the word ininija, to hold something in a certain way or point in a certain direction. Back to the story. More than 40 years ago, Sam was leaving Thunder Bay to go to Toronto, as he often did, when he asked his good friend, Joanne, an interpreter with the Canadian Hearing Society, to store a big stack of paintings. Ash was part of the shelter community in Toronto and Thunder Bay, so he did not always have a safe place to store his art. Joanne agreed to take care of the paintings, and not only that, she agreed to take care of them She did take care of them in a good way. If you hear Joanne talk about Sam, you know that she does this with a kind smile and this beautiful, sort of rollicking, infectious laugh. And I can imagine her and Sam laughing together. I feel like they probably had a very similar laugh. She knew what a special person he was, something you will hear a little bit more of with our next speaker. And so, just this past year, Joanne donated the works to honor Sam and his legacy as a great woodland painter. So, thank you, Joanne, and thank you, Sammy, as you call him, for pointing these paintings in a certain direction. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Kathleen Lynch, a friend of Joanne McMackin's and also the president of Confederation College.
Thank you, Penelope. It's really lovely to be here this evening and see so many people here to come and witness this beautiful art and this wonderful gift that Joanne has made to the art gallery. I met Joanne back in 1986, and she had already been an interpreter for a number of years, a few years, and we were just trying to figure out how long Joanne's career was, but obviously it was more than 40 years, Joanne. And all that time, Joanne really had the trust and confidence of the deaf community here in Thunder Bay, and actually often in northwestern Ontario as well, because services of deaf people for deaf people for interpreting were few and far between. So it was often Joanne that was the only person available to come out and be there to help make sure that what was happening was very clear to deaf people and that they understood. She was basically on call 24/7 for many, many years and had the pleasure of getting to know all of the people that have come here tonight and many more that passed through Thunder Bay or are no longer with us. Joanne, actually how I got involved in this exhibition was Joanne had talked to Karen Higginson. Karen and Joanne and I also worked together at the Canadian Hearing Society, and Karen said, Joanne has something she wants to talk to you about. So I was thrilled to hear from Karen and then reach out to Joanne and find out that she wanted to have this exhibition and make this donation and make sure that it was accessible to the deaf community, and work with Karen to have that happen. So Joanne has asked me to say a few words on her behalf, and I'm honored to do so. We were just chatting about Sam, or Sammy as she referred to him, and he would seek Joanne out at different times and come and visit the Canadian Hearing Society office, and got to know everybody there, and Joanne obviously developed a very strong bond with Sammy, and he trusted her. So he trusted her with the paintings and then later gifted her with these paintings, and now she's made a gift that's going to be available for everybody here through the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. And I also wanted to mention that I was president of the college because when I was doing a little research about Sam, I found out that he had his first show in 1973 at Confederation College. So I thought who knew the connection. He also had a number of shows at the Thunder Bay Indigenous Friendship Center, who supported him in his work. So this is what Joanne wanted me to read. This is famous Ojibway artist, resilient, humorous, kind, spirited, by Elio DeCall, friend and fellow artist. And I understand that Elio was invited to this event, but obviously he wasn't able to be here. But he had befriended Sam and helped him arrange a number of showings in the Toronto area. Sam's physical appearance, chiseled by harsh years, belies his gentleness in a field which can be unkind to more disadvantaged artists. He displays an appreciation for the subtleties of personal relationships and an abiding respect for the natural world. He experienced difficulties which surfaced in his paintings from time to time. Still, these darker themes, expressed with vivid colors, are revealed through closer study, sometimes with what passes for a comforting touch of whimsy. His sensitivity, having not been nurtured in his early life, can only be a reflection of his true nature. So thank you, Joanne, for honoring me by asking me to read that passage, and thank you so much for your generous gift.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'd now like to welcome to the front Greg Iben, President of the Thunder Bay Center of the Deaf.
Hello. I don't usually depend on my notes. I usually depend on a video. These are my notes. I'm not good with trying to figure that out in English, so I want my first language, so that's what I'll be looking at. Oh, not working. Sorry, just give me a moment. Having some technical difficulties. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember what I was going to say. Hi there. My name is Greg Ibing. I'm the representative for the Thunder Bay Center of the Deaf and the deaf community. When I hadn't met Sam before, I used to live in the West. I moved to Thunder Bay. The deaf community in Thunder Bay, talked about him, that he was a fantastic artist, but I hadn't met him at that time. Later on, I did meet him, got to know him, and I found him to be a very nice, soft-hearted guy. It was really nice, easy to speak to, easy to talk with. Usually he was between Thunder Bay and Toronto, and he would come and go, kind of like a snowbird. In the summer months, he would come here, sometimes every year, sometimes every 2 years, sometimes every 3 years. And when he was here, he would come and meet the deaf community and friends, and then usually would go to Sioux Lookout, where his friends and family are located. Plus, he always took the opportunity to be in nature, to observe the animals in nature and the forest. And then he would bring that into his painting and his art, which is what you see around us. You see mostly it's nature-themed and animals. And you can see the emotion in his painting, whether it was happiness or anger, you can see it expressed in his work. But his paintings also have dual meanings. When you really look at his art, you can see that. And one of the things that is very noticeable in his art is the big eyes. As a deaf person, we're dependent on a visual language, but also just his Indigenous culture is incorporated in that as well, which is very unique to other Indigenous art. And I find myself very drawn to it and connected with it, and I feel it matches, it fits. I have understanding for it, and I can see what he means in his art. But he used to come here on a regular basis, usually on the bus by Greyhound. Then that service ceased, and then we didn't see him anymore. But I know that he continued to paint. His painting style is very different. It's very loud, bright colors, which you can see on a white background as well. You know, he kept his style the same, even though some of the background might have changed, but his style never changed. It was always the same. My video notes were much better, so I apologize that I'm kind of winging it. But it's on YouTube if you want to see it. Now that Sam is gone, you know, he might be gone, but his artwork carries on forever. And so we remember his spirit, and we honor his spirit as well, and we honor who he is. And he truly represents the talent and skill of his art that he has here, and I'm so impressed with it. And so tonight it is about showing our heart and our honor to him, that his paintings will endure. And so even though we can't see Sam, we can see him every day through his art. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg, Ivan. That was fantastic. We really appreciate you being part of this tonight. And it's great to know you do Sam. I didn't know that. And the Greyhound brings things back for me too. All right. Well, this brings us to the end of our formal remarks. Thank you all, every one of you, so much for coming. Thank you again to our interpreters. Thank you again to Joanne for the donation. Thank you to everyone who has joined us online. Thank you to everyone who is coming to the gallery for the first time. We love having you here and hope you come back. Most importantly, thank you, miigwech, to Sam Ash. So please join us for light refreshments in the lobby in celebrating this exhibit, Sam Ash, People of the Eyes. And that's it.